Hello, everyone, and welcome to Film Independent Presents, our year-round screening and Q&A series, now virtual. I'm Brian Sheehan from Film Independent. First off, I'd like to thank some of our ardent supporters, our lead sponsor, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and our screening partner, Vision Media. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have a question, you'll see the little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and hopefully we can get to that towards the end of our session. And we have a very special guest moderator today in Claudia Puig, who is also the president of the Los Angeles Film Critics Association. So without further ado, I will let her take it away to talk all about La Llorona.
Thanks, Brian. I'm so excited to talk about La Llorona and to welcome the director and co-writer La Llorona, Jayro Bustamante. It's a great pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, and thank you to give me that space. It's so important for us, even more because it's a film who are trying to give voice for people who was living in silence and their problematics from a long time. So have this kind of platforms to talk about how they live and how are we fighting to talk about that, because in my country all that problematics are a taboo, and so can't talk about that in the international is so important. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, your film brings together the supernatural and the political in such a powerful way, and really brings into focus the terrible injustice that has happened in Guatemala. And what we see is a horror film where the horror is really the reality, not something supernatural. I was hoping you might be able to discuss with the audience the importance of La Llorona in Mesoamerica. What makes it such a powerful, iconic legend.
It's very strange because we really love La Llorona in Mesoamerica. It's a kind of there is La Virgen de Guadalupe and La Llorona, the light image icon and the dark image icon. And when I started working in that film, I wanted to talk about the facts. Ay, se me cayó el internet. Hello, hello, are you there? Oh, I'm so sorry. I just and I wanted to talk about what really happened in Guatemala, but I know that my local audience don't want to talk anymore about that because that hurt us, and people suffer when they talk about that. So I decided to package the message, and I decided to use oral gender to talk about the recent history, and I was thinking about the logline that Guatemala is a motherland, who want to stop to crying their disparate people, and when I was thinking about that, La Llorona came to my mind, and I think La Llorona is perfect because she is horror, she is a legend, she is an icon, and I find the opportunity to change a little bit the myth, because if you analyze the myth, it's a very misogynistic myth. La Llorona is a woman, an indigenous woman who is crying because a man quit her. And she arrived even to kill his kids because that man quit her. So I think maybe La Llorona can cry because a more relevant thing than a man. And and the project was born like that.
And what made you decide to tell it at this particular moment? Because it's obviously this happened, the massacre happened at the time that it did. What spoke to you about the relevance of telling it now?
Jimmy, talk about La Llorona came from, there is an insult in Guatemala, a very important insult, and that insult is communist. And in Guatemala, people are using that to attack people who defend human rights. In the history, in the 50s, we were under the American political, so To us, the enemy was the communist. And after that, the enemy, the communist, was all the people who were against the state. And today, people who defend human rights in Guatemala are classified as people who are against the state. So you can understand that in a situation like that, a genocide can happen. And so, and we don't talk about that. Our history is not taught in the school. Our history, families don't talk about that because we are afraid. The same people who serve to the genocide is still in the power in a way today. So we are not talking about. When I started making my film, uh, I received a lot of menaces and threats because, and even a minister, a lady, a minister of what do you say in English? Ministro de Relaciones Exteriores.
Minister of External Relations.
She tried to stop the shooting, and the French ambassador and the Mexican ambassador and a university in Guatemala protect us to continue doing the film. So it was important to talk about that because the indigenous people suffering are not important for Guatemalan people or for white people. So we had to continue to talk about that, and film is a good tool to do that.
And you many of the people that you had in your scenes were some of the crowd scenes, and in the courtroom, I believe, were some of the real uh, people who had been victimized or political activists from that time, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to call to extras to be part of my film. I call associations, and all that people are people who still looking for justice, are people who still looking for their disparate family relatives. Are We had the chance to have even Rigoberta Menchú in the film, who is
Yes.
a Nobel Prize, and it was so important because she came. I asked to her to be part of the film from the beginning, and I asked to her to be an advisor because I didn't want to be unrespectful about the people who suffered that. And she told me, you have to invite all these souls of the disparate people to work with you. And we made a sacred fire to invite us souls. And we really feel that they were with us during
Mm.
the shooting. And you know, the film, we had a very, very small budget to do that film. And and in a moment, like a magical thing, we start having a lot of gifts, a lot of people supporting us, a lot of people giving us their house for nothing, giving us transport, electricity, and we really said in a moment, there is all of the people who are helping us to make that film.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. The character of General Monteverde, of course, is based on the genocidal dictator Efraín Ríos Montt, and it reimagines the fable of La Llorona, weaving it in as this metaphor. Um, and yet the story of La Llorona has been adapted into lots of other movies that have been lesser movies than yours for sure. How did you make sure that you approach the character of La Llorona in a fresh way? Um, because it's
You
been
know,
used in the four films.
in my point of view, La Llorona was all the time very bad represented in movies, and I don't understand why people represent La Llorona as a monster if the legends say, I'm so sorry, if the legends say that La Llorona was a Mayan princess or an indigenous princess. um, so I decided to be a little bit more close with Dracula, that as La Llorona, what we know in movies. So I wanted to make a princess, and I wanted to make a very elegant horror icon, feminine, and I wanted to use her. You know, she's important only because she is. She don't need to do anything. she's there, and the presence have to be the strong thing. And and I wanted to think about the fact that La Llorona will possess the other women to use them to make justice. And and female characters are important in my film, because if you analyze the reality, all the time who are people looking for justice, or all the time who are people looking for desperate people about massacres like genocides and all that, are normally women's doing that. And I don't know why men's are not interested by that. So in a way, I wanted to make a kind of a homage to women who still fighting pro human rights.
That's really, it's so true when you think about, I was thinking about like the mothers in Argentina or the disappeared. And it always tends to be that you don't see a group of fathers gathering. You see women, wanting to know what happened to their family members. It's very true.
And about the general character,
Mhm.
for sure, I use the facts to who really happened in Guatemala during the genocide. But I didn't have inspiration only about our dictator, Efraín Ríos Montt. I wanted to be inspired by all the dictators in Latin America, because they are similar. They are really close each other. And once I was in a university in Paris, making a class, and one student asked me why they are so similar, like if they came from the same school. And I said, but they did. They came from the American school, and in that place, people formed dictators to be leaders in Latin America. And and I was asking to, because all the dictators are similar, and they are saying that they are heroes, and they save our people even if they kill them, and they are saying that thanks to them, Latin America is as Latin America are, and we are not the best example. And but they continue saying that they are heroes, and I'm sure that at night guilt came, and I'm sure that that lie can be support 24 hours. I'm sure that there is a moment that they became humans, and there is a moment that they understand that they made bad things. So I wanted to be there in that moment with the evil, I really know how the victims lived, and I
Mhm.
wanted I was curious about how the guilt, how the evil lived. So I decided to put the camera inside the evil house.
And I love the way you do that. I mean, you do see that he is haunted, that he has those flashes of awareness, and the claustrophobic feeling of the camera inside the house is so powerful. And
I was remembering with my team how we arrived to that idea, and we are sure that in a moment it was because we had a very small budget, and I was thinking about the fact how I will represent a whole indigenous Mayan people community in a film if I have that short budget. So I said I have put the camera inside something unless the sound made the work. And we start thinking about that closed house, um, because we need we need the pretext. And and I'm very happy to be arrived to that
I
point.
love that it was a marriage of practicality and art like that. It's just amazing. And I thought the sound design was also so powerful. We focus so much on the visuals, and your visuals were beautiful, beautifully composed, but the sound also really added to the haunting quality.
It was a very important part of the work, and I think I will continue working like that in my new projects, because I invited my sound designer to start working with me from the script, and he was involved in the film from the script, and he was giving me ideas, and we were thinking about the more practical way to do that, and we were thinking about the more economic way to do that, and that's movies. Movies is image and sound. So I really discover, as a kid, I really discovered that if I have the sound designer from the beginning with me, I have one of my two hands working.
Yeah, that sounds like a brilliant idea. You talked about the spirit. You felt the spirit of the people who had departed when you had the crowds of people who had been victims. And then I wondered if also maybe you felt the spirit of uh, the dead kind of coming back, and the ghosts of the war in a more kind of disturbing way. The ghosts of Mott, for instance, or the other people who carried out his orders. Did you feel that as well?
You know, we really didn't need any disturbing or or kind of magical realism happen in the film, because the fact to work with people who suffered genocide was very disturbing from the beginning. And for example, the lady who played the role of the women who gave the testimony in the court, she when I start working with her, I give her the script and she asked to me if she could change some lines, because she told me if I can change some lines, it will be exactly that I lived, and it will be more easy to me to play that role.
Mm.
And I was like I couldn't answer. I just say, because I had a kind of a Llorona in
Lump in your throat. Yeah, yeah.
that's it.
Wow. Um, and did you choose in a way this genre because horror films are popular in Guatemala, to tell the story through this particular genre?
So the important thing is in Guatemala, people are afraid about the fact to talk about the recent history, and so I knew that my local audience don't wanted to watch a film talking about that topic. So I decided to package the film in the message in a way, in a shape that they loved. And I made a study, and I discovered with the research that people in Guatemala love horror films and superhero films.
Mm.
So La Llorona is a kind of a superhero
Yeah.
for us, and she's having all the horror elements. So she was perfect for that, and and it's very, that is movie magic, because when the film when we were shooting the film, people don't wanted to let me do the film, and when the film came came out, people don't wanted to support that. But right now that they start understanding that the film is in the Oscar and in the Golden Globe scores and all that, the glamour of that
Oh.
is became so important. So even people who are very conservative in Guatemala are supporting the film,
Mm.
and it's a topic that they wanted to silence for a long time. And right now they are saying, "Oh, we are so proud about our film." So it's so nice, so paradigmatic.
Yeah. That's ironic, but at least they're watching it and getting them. It's important to get the word out. I understand that were many Mayan languages, because there's like 23 Mayan languages
Yeah.
in Guatemala. So how many were spoken in the film? There was more than one, right?
We spoke in the film two language. Ishil is the first one, who I used that language because the Ishil ethnia was the ethnia who suffered worse the genocide in a way. It's very difficult to say who suffered more or less in a genocide. but it was a very, very affect region in my country. So I wanted to give them the voice in the film. And the other language that I use in the film is Kaqchikel, and it's because I grew up in the Kaqchikel ethnia, and I really love that language, and I really love that culture, and so I'm just trying to put Kaqchikel in each film that I make.
um, I wanted to ask you about the actors that you work with as a regular team, because I know that you have almost like a family of actors. Um, Maria Telon, who's been in all three of your films, who played Valeriana, and Maria Coroy. Uh, Tell us a little bit about working with actors that you've worked with consistently on films.
Yeah, for sure. Just a minute, sorry.
Hmm.
Sorry. Yeah, it's very important. In Guatemala, our industry is very small, so we don't have a lot of actors. So when I made a casting, looking for, I made a casting not looking for actors. I made a casting looking for talents. And when I started making films in Guatemala in 2009, I I was I knew that it was a reality, so I started doing films. I started working doing films and forming actors at the same time. So the actors that I met from the beginning, that I formed or my team formed with me, um, continue being a kind of that family because I don't wanna just make films. I wanna build icons because in my country there is only political icons. There is not cultural icons to give examples or to give voices to some problematics. And so I think in a world that people are reading less and are watching more audiovisual, we have the responsibility to give content, to offer content in our productions, and to create people who will to support or to help people to be part of that movement.
Mhm. Speaking of that, you've had a relationship with Rigoberta Menchú for quite a while, right? How did that come about?
Oh, I admire Rigoberta Menchú as I was a child, and I had the opportunity to say hello to her when she came. I'm used to live between Guatemala and Paris, and at that time I was living in Paris, and she came to make a conference, and I was there, and I just told her, I say hello, and after that, when I made my first feature, she called me to congratulate me because I was talking about Mayan problematics, and I was so impressed when I received the call, and that I wanted to be so respectful, and all that I could say was Rigoberta, Rigoberta. and after that she became a kind of a mentor, and she gave me her advice about the fact it's very complicated to talk about Maya problematics in Guatemala because they never had the opportunity, and they never had the space, and they continue fighting for that. So I don't want to talk for them, but I want to give them the space to do that, and I want to be part of their movement.
Absolutely. You mentioned your limited budget, and yet you had those huge crowd scenes where there were about look like 500 actors or so, hundreds. Um, how challenging is that to oversee and to direct?
It was very easy. It was very easy because that people are not they were not in my films because they wanted to be in a film. They were in my film because they continue fighting, looking for justice, and all that people who work in the film, like as an actor or extra, they are part of association who continue looking for their relatives disparate, and they are militants for human rights. And so, you know, I decide to be more, in a way, to change my idea of these things, because I could to understand what was happening in the reality with that people together, and they were really manifesting. So I'm deciding to say, I don't want to set them. I want to set my camera to keep that moment, and but it was very easy, and I really I feel myself so thankful because that people give me a part of their fight and of their objective of life.
In real life, Rios Mota is now dead, and he was found guilty of genocide, but then it was overturned. His conviction was overturned, right? And then he had dementia for a while, but he didn't get the punishment that he deserved. Do you think there's an element of like catharsis or something therapeutic for people to see that he does suffer in your film as opposed to what he missed out on in real life?
It was the idea. The idea was make that kind of catharsis in the film, and the idea was look for justice even in a fictional space. And you know, we are living in Latin America in that kind of fictional space where we can imagine justice from long time because our states as are not working well. So for that we need magical realism, we need psychomagical, we need all that kind of divinities, because we don't have a human help, and we don't have um, state working. So in a way it was, it's a very natural language to say, if we cannot have justice in reality, maybe we will have that in a film.
Yeah. As the rise of fascism around the world is going on, including in our country here, um, I think your film resonates all the more because it's like a cautionary tale too. I mean, very it's very timely. Um,
Yeah, it's I'm when I started making the film, one of the most difficult things was try to understand that kind of megaloman, that as a general, as a president, how that people can lose their control, and how that people can lose their humanity, and and how other people can follow them. And so it was the most difficult thing because I don't have the answer. So I just try to represent reality and to shoot that, because but when I start making my research, I really believe that I will find an answer, and I continue looking for it.
I hope you do. There are no. It doesn't seem that there are answers either. It's the followers that always strike me. It's easier to imagine one crazy person, but a bunch of people following a crazy person is much harder. In the funeral scene that you have, there is a scene where we see only the backs of Doña Carmen and her daughter and her granddaughter, and it's very powerful. But I was wondering why you chose to film it in that particular way.
In reality, there is another scene that I didn't put in the film, and I have all that women, powerful women, coming through the funeral, and and it's a very very strong scene, and but in a way, thinking about that, I decided to don't put that in the film, because even if La Llorona used that women to make justice, I didn't want to say that the I don't want to make them heroes because in a way they spend the big part of their life defending a
Mhm.
genocider. So so I prefer just use their back,
Mm.
and I think it was a very good option.
It was a great option. We have some questions from the audience, so I want to get to those right now. This is from Emmanuel Luarca, and he says, "You're brilliant. Your work is genius. When are you coming to LA to shoot? And where do we audition?"
I'm looking for, you know, I'm just made 3 films in my career, feature I mean, and these 3 films are connected by a link. I wanted to talk about the 3 more important insults in my country. The first one is Indio, but when you know that in Guatemala 80% of the people are indigenous and you use the word indigenous to insult, is because we are not proud about ourselves. We are not proud about our origins. Even if we came from Mayan, it's a great imperial. But so the second insult is hueco, who means hole, and we use that insult to attack gay men in Guatemala. And I was very interested about that insult because it's not a homophobic insult. When you say hueco to somebody, you are saying that that man is trying to be a little bit more feminine, and being feminine, he's losing power. So at the same time, you are insulting all the women. And the third insult is communist, who is used to insult people who defend human rights. So so I was working on that 3 films, and I made that in 5 years. And so right now I'm looking for make a film in USA and in LA. I'm reading a lot of scripts, but I'm looking to bring some films to be done in Guatemala. And I'm trying to take talents to come to work with me here. And and I think it's the best way to make stronger my local industry, because we can learn and teach if we work together.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because, what we don't have that much of in this country is movies as much about American Latinos. We see movies about Mexico, we see movies about Latin America or South America, but we don't see a lot, enough, I guess I should say, movies about American Latinos. So that's, by filming here, I think that would be wonderful to see that incorporated.
And it's very, I will say funny, but it's not funny. It's sad because today we are in the best moment of our history, like Latinx people doing films in the US
Yeah.
in LA. And so you can imagine how it was 10 years ago. And there is a lot of talents in USA who are hiding their origins, and they are just today they are saying that they are Latins, but they spend a lot of time and a lot of energy hiding what they are really
Right.
like me. And it's the same insult in
Right.
a
Right.
way. And
Exactly.
so but I'm happy because I think that changement start, and it will be not stop. And I think for sure we will make more films, and we are a big community in America. So
Yes. Yes. That's the hope. Okay, the next question is from John Estrada. He says, "Thank you for sharing your insight. It's a brilliant film, and I loved Ishkanul. Why did you decide to go with Shutter for showing your film?"
oh, it was, you know, I have to be honest. I didn't knew Shutter before because we don't have Shutter in Central America or in Paris that I live. And so when Shutter came to us to propose us to be part of the film, I said it's a horror platform, and they told me no, we are looking to show films who talk about darkness and humanity, and I think I love that people,
Yeah.
and our experience together is nice, and I'm really want to say thank you to Shutter because they are really defending my film, and they are really understanding that the film is not just a horror film. It's a political film too, and it's a historical film. And it's a reflect about our folklore and our way to live.
Right. I love that. I love the hybrid aspect. Um, and he has a second question, which is, what is the difference between La Llorona and La Ciguanaba?
The difference, normally La Ciguanaba is a woman who has a kind of a responsibility to punish men who are living in a kind of infidelity or sexual affair or something like that. And she has a horse face, and she's very attractive. But when a man came to her, she just showed her horse face, and La Llorona is La Llorona.
Yeah. We have another question asking what it means to you to represent Guatemala for the Oscar category.
Oh, that's very nice uh, because as I told you, you know that topic in Guatemala is a taboo. People are trying to silence the voice of people who suffer the genocide. They want to say that in Guatemala it wasn't a genocide, that they killed that people because they deserve to be killed, and so they try to stop the film. They try to stop the coming of outside of the release of the film. And right now, with that opportunity to be in the Oscar and the Golden Globes, uh, in a way, people start being proud about the film. And so being proud about the film, even if it's because the glamour,
Mhm, mhm.
uh, they are giving voice to the people who suffered the genocide.
Right, right. Um, Julio Munoz wants to know, he says, gracias. Oh, this is partly in Spanish. Una obra tan importante, a very important work. La Llorona is such a beautiful film. What reaction have you received from the people that suffered and lost loved ones during the genocide upon watching your film?
Oh, I I really I hope that the film will serve as a tool to talk about all that things that happen, and I really think that films can be a tool to impact and change societies. And I had a very nice news that in France the film became part of the pensum of the university, and
Mm,
they are studying my film, and I cannot dream about the fact that will be happening in my country because it's too much, but it's a little step, and if we can use movies to do that kind of impact, and I think we will live in a better world.
absolutely. And I think when they're told in an entertaining way, it's not like you're having a history lesson in class. It makes a deeper impact when you're moved in that way.
Exactly, and you are using the most human language to share something who are emotions.
Exactly. Um, let's see, from Juan Pablo Cuellar. I haven't seen the film yet. Uh-oh. Did we spoil? I hope we didn't spoil anything. But now I want to. Congratulations. I hope to see more films from you. I guess that's not really a question, but he's congratulating you. And Amy Lowe Starbin says, I love the hypnotic pace of the editing. Can you talk about how much of it was planned in the shooting and how much achieved in the editing room?
Oh, thank you, because it was a kind of experience to us because we made the film, and we decided to, we had a so short budget that we have to do everything by ourselves. So my producer and I decide to make the editing together, to start to gain a little bit of time, or to gain a little bit of, I don't know why we decided. We didn't have money to pay an editor. So we start doing the film, and we made that cut. And when we made the cut, we said, so for now we are ready for, we have a cut, and an editor can came a proposal of something different. And so we presented of some people who we respect in the industry to ask them a name of an editor that they can to help us. And people tell us the film is ready. You don't need an editor. You can show the film like that.
Wow.
And one people working in Venice said we wanted to have the film in the festival. So we said, okay, we became an editor.
That's
That was the
amazing.
process.
I think some of the best films are edited by the director because you have the vision. I think
I
that
love that part of the work. I really love that. And song too. It's
yes,
another
yes,
very creative part of the work that I really enjoyed.
absolutely. Well, this has been wonderful. That's the end of those questions, and I've really enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you, Heido, so much for your wonderful film. And
Thank you. And
everyone who's
thank you
out
for
there
your
watching,
question.
tell people to watch, tell people to go and see it.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Heido
Thank
Bustamante.
you.